Hi, everyone. I'm Latoya Drake. I am the head of media representation here at Google and want to welcome everyone and thank you for joining us for this town hall. We'll give a bit more information about the North American Innovation Challenge through the Google News Initiative, which is also the GNI. We'll take you through the reason why we created the program. We'll give you a little bit of background on the challenge and hopefully equip everyone to get those applications ready and prepared. And hopefully, if there's been any outstanding questions, you'll get those answered here. If you do have questions, we will ask that you post them in the comment section of this video. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So this innovation challenge is something that we announced in late February of this year, actually. You may have noticed that it was scheduled to wrap up a little bit earlier, but given COVID and some of the challenges there and the moment that we're in, we pushed the deadline back to August to give people a bit more time to apply and get those applications together. So just as a scene setting slide, it's important to know that this is not just an exercise in vanity. News is very much important to Google. Our CEO, Sundar Pichai, talks about this in great detail. If you know our mission, you know that at the heart of it is making information accessible and available to everyone. And with that, it means that we want to make news and information available as well. So there are three pillars to the GNI, which has been around since 2018. One, we focus quite a bit on evolving business models and really trying to understand some of the challenges you may be facing in your business and looking for ways that we can support your work and help you to continue to thrive. Elevating quality journalism is another one. We know that people rely on high quality information to know not just what's happening in the world at large, but also what's happening in their communities. And then finally, empowering newsrooms with technology. Google itself is a tech company, so it's very critical that we figure out how we make some of those innovations available more widely than just what we may know about among ourselves. So with that, we launched the GNI Innovation Challenge. It is a global program. It has taken place in 125 countries around the globe. We've done it in APAC, we've done it in LATAM, we've done it in MENA. And here in North America, this is actually round 2 of the challenge. And it's about really empowering news innovators from around the world to demonstrate new thinking in online journalism. And we hope that it'll help you think about developing new publishing models. And in turn, one of the most important things about it is that we share those learnings that you've generated within your projects with the larger news industry. So thank you to everyone who has applied for some of the programs around the world. You'll see here just a quick snapshot of the number of applications we've received, the number of recipients, and then the amount of funding that has gone out to date. So with this challenge, we thought hard about when we were putting together round 2, the direction that we could take it in. And we wanted to be intentional about creating something that was specifically about sustainability through diversity. And I'll read this because it's critical to hear to understand the goal of what we're trying to accomplish here. And it's all about supporting the creation of sustainable business models for local news publishers who want to address their diverse audiences or certainly better understand the communities that you serve. And I'll put a fine point on this. And for us, this challenge is about closing equity gaps. The types of projects that we're interested in are ones that we're encouraging people to think about diversity, equity, and inclusion again through the lens of closing gaps. Who is affected by the gaps in your coverage? What are the size of those gaps? How will this funding help you close those coverage gaps? And then what is the impact of the gap on the community right now? And then to extend that a little bit further, we hope people will think about how it will look in the future when your project is completed. So again, yes, this is about sustainability through diversity, but as again, when we talk about this, and as you think about your proposals and your programs that will come together, we encourage everyone to think about how are you closing equity gaps. So there are 3 parts to this theme that I want to spend a little bit of time on, and I want to unpack these a bit more. Again, and I want to put a fine point on this because I know that the idea of applying for this challenge might seem daunting, and we hope it doesn't feel that way. We really want to demystify it and make sure you understand what we're looking for, and so that you can apply that to your applications that you'll put together. So we're looking for ideas that address a diverse audience and or better understanding of communities. We are asking people or asking in your applications to think about how can you create a new business model? How does this open up potential new revenue streams for you? And it should be all about local. And when we say local, we mean what's happening in your community and how can you put a fine point on, again, those equity gaps in local coverage for diverse communities that you may have and that you may speak to and address. So it's pretty helpful, I think, to see some previous recipients. We don't actually show examples or applications because we leave that to you. We're excited about the creativity that might come forward. But you can certainly, if you search for North American Innovation Challenge, you'll see some of the examples. But I wanted to call out a few recipients from the first round. La Noticia out of North Carolina. They've been doing some really interesting work on, new revenue streams by providing the audience with portals to tell their own stories. OK Player, who's based here in New York, where I am, submitted an idea about launching an investigative reporting platform and to encourage high demand local reporting. And they received funding in the first round as well. And also Boston Media out of Maryland. So again, I would encourage you, if you're looking to see the types of people who have received funding, please don't take that as an indication of what ideas you might need to put together. It is not a blueprint for what gets selected versus what doesn't, but really take it as an indicator of the types of ideas, and hopefully it gives you some inspiration that you might lean into. So who is this open to? It's eligible. The eligibility is that it's open to all newsroom innovators. We do encourage a range of ideas. We also are looking for, again, when we talk about what are we looking for, I want to go back to that. We're looking for projects that are about online news. The main component should be digital. It can be collaborative. If there's another organization that you wish to collaborate with and you want to go in on an idea together, we also accept those types of ideas. It doesn't have to just be one person or one team. If there are other organizations where you might find that you'll have greater impact by collaborating, we encourage those. Just as much as we encourage other types of applications. The selection criteria, you may be asking yourself, well, how are you going to judge these applications? And I will say this is not ranked in order of importance, but it is just a list of the types of criteria that we will start to evaluate your applications via. One is DEI impact. Another is impact on the news ecosystem. How might we share these ideas more broadly? We think that we all flourish when the ideas can be understood and adopted by others. Is it innovative? How are you using technology? Again, it doesn't mean that we have a scorecard where we're going to say this is the percentage points for innovation. That's not the case at all. But we do want to see that you're thinking about the use of technology. As you saw in my prior slide when I talked about the 3 pillars of the GNI, and one of our priorities is technological innovation. And then feasibility. How feasible is this? Is this something that can actually be done? I'm in that camp of people who I often think about big ideas, but if it's not something that is actually practical and that you can't even attack in a year, that might not be the project that you want to submit, because we want to see the possibility of it coming to life and coming to fruition. And then finally, this is one that I like to put a fine point on because it's really important, and that's inspiration. We are looking for projects that perhaps we have not thought about. We don't have all the ideas, but is it really something that's inspiring and something that you can get people rallied around in a really positive way? So again, I will re-emphasize that this is not a ranked order list, but these are some of the criteria, the specific criteria that we will be evaluating applications under. And then also we want to be very transparent about governance and how we are accepting, reviewing, and evaluating the applications. There is a project team that I am on that will fill the applications once the window closes. We will be putting together a jury. It will be made up of Google executives and possible external experts, so that we're wanting to make sure that we have a diversity of opinions and eyeballs as we make these decisions. It will be the jury that votes and takes the final decision after the project team initially evaluates and shortlists and puts together a few recommendations. So there's a bit of a separation of church and state. The project team who will see all of the applications is not part of the jury team. So we want to make sure it's completely fair and also equitable in terms of how we make the decision-making process. So a few tips as you start to put together your applications. We definitely encourage everyone to read the terms and conditions very carefully. These are available on the GNI Innovation Challenge page. The best way to get there is if you search for North American Innovation Challenge on Google, you'll find yourself at that page. And then there is no funding available for pure content creation. This is not to fund just the creation of stories or the writing of stories. That makes you ineligible if your idea is purely about content creation. We are looking for projects that will be no longer than a year in duration. We also are not looking for projects that are about training, not looking for things that are just training and educational programs that would be ineligible. As I mentioned earlier, we are encouraging collaborations. We know that good ideas can come when many brains are together, so we definitely encourage that. We need to see clear indicators and a defined monetization component, if that's relevant. And then, as I said, when we think about sustainable business models and new revenue streams, if that is a core component of your project idea, we do ask that you spell that out clearly. And then news impact on the news ecosystem, on the broader ecosystem. How does this help everyone else? How does this move the ecosystem in a more positive direction is something that we encourage you to consider as you are putting your applications together. And then most importantly, how are you going to share the learnings? How are you going to scale them? How will you make these learnings available to others, not just those of us who will be part of the journey as these challenges come together, but we really want to make sure that this is something that the learnings can be shared with a broader group, because we do think that they will benefit the industry as a whole. How do you get in touch with us? You'll see here at the bottom, the Challenge Project team is very happy to answer any questions. You may have questions now, you may need to sit with them and come back to them later, but I will give you the email address, which is again at the bottom of the screen. It's NAGNIchallenge@google.com. And it does not go into a black box. That actually comes to the project team, and you'll certainly get a response if a question comes up now or throughout the next couple of weeks as you're putting together your applications. So just in terms of timeline to set some expectation, we again announced this in February. We will close the program in mid-August. I believe August 15th is the date, or August 12th. I'll have to double check that to make sure I'm not flipping my numbers. And then the review process will begin in August as soon as we close the date or close the application window. It will take us a couple of months. We do hope and expect to receive quite a few applications, which is why we're doing these webinars and really trying to demystify this process and how you might put together an application. And then by end of year is when we expect to start to make those notifications of who was selected, which will also be publicized on our internal news blog. We will also update the website. So there will be heavy publicity around the winner so that we are making it known where the funds went and how they're being applied. Want to just close by giving you the website, again, g.co/news innovation. Also mentioned you could search for North American Innovation Challenge on Google, but here's a very easy way to find it. I hope this has been helpful. We wanted to, again, quickly take you through some of the expectations around the applications, what we're looking for, but more than anything, we want to make sure we're giving enough time if there are any questions, if there are things that have not been answered throughout the course of this presentation. Please do feel free to jump in now, and we will continue the dialogue, and hopefully we can answer everything that might be on your mind. So with that, we'll take a minute to let those questions come in, and then we will address them accordingly. I will say this can often be quite a bit to process, and you may have the opportunity after watching this to come back and watch it again. We shared that email alias earlier, so please do feel free. If the questions don't come to you now, do email us a bit later. I do have a question coming in now that I'll read and address and speak to. Can these applications rethink media's traditional role in their communities, i.e. going beyond just memberships and advertising? The answer to that is absolutely. There's not a rigid way that we want people to think about these ideas. And the question, this came from John Heason, and what you're getting after is how big can the idea be? Yes, I talk about feasibility in an earlier slide when we said we want the ideas to be feasible. But if you're thinking along the lines of, again, how do we reimagine media's traditional role in their community? We want to see how you might do that and how you might practically do that. So you absolutely can come into a project under under those parameters. But again, we want to make sure you're spelling out how you plan to do it, how you plan to rethink media's traditional role. Thank you for that question. Very good one. Again, if you do have questions, we are asking that you drop those into the chat and we will fill them and get them answered. And if we don't have the answers, we'll certainly go and find them for you. We'll give it maybe a couple more minutes, and then I want to go back and again make sure that you have all of the ways to get in touch with us if no questions are coming to mind right now. Want to make sure again you have the website handy. That website is g.co/news innovation. If you want to get immediately to the application page, you can do so there. And then let me just leave up this screen in case it sparks any questions. Want to remind you again that the email alias to get in touch with us is nagnichallenge@google.com. We will close out this webinar now. This will live on the internet should you wish to watch it again. I want to thank those of you who joined today and for bringing your attention and certainly considering applying to this program. It's one of those that I'm incredibly proud of. And we want people to apply. We want to get as many applications as we can because it's important that we make the resources that are available to the GNI available to the industry at large. I'll say it again, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. And thank you again for joining.